Hello and welcome. My name is Nicholas and this is Literally Graphic. And today I am reviewing another comic book by David Alexander Robertson. On the back of this one, he identifies as a swampy Cree writer. This book was originally published between 7 Generations and Tales from the Great Spirit series, so his bio has changed a bit from one to one. Other bios have been a little bit more ambiguous and emphasizing his non-Indigenous heritage. The illustrator is also Scott Henderson, who has been illustrating a lot of the other ones. And this one, namely Sugar Falls, a residential school story, is based on the true story of Betty Ross. And this comic, unlike the other comics, is black and white. It also definitely felt like it skewed a bit older, although it certainly is something that can be read by a variety of ages and is something that's important for a variety of ages to know about. I guess some of his later work does definitely skew very, very, very young and very like, golly gee, adults beware, because you might not have patience for this sort of thing. So this was very nice, more all ages, but definitely not fully all ages, just because residential schools sucked. And that's a major understatement. I really thought that this was possibly one of my favorite books by him so far. It was definitely very hitting. The story progressed very well. The artwork definitely was a high point in all of the books I've read by him and Henderson. I thought all the page layouts were interesting, but fairly easy to follow. It's not a super work of artistic self-indulgence, but it's definitely easier on the eyes than some of the other ones. And the black and white really was very dramatic and helped draw out the story a lot and really complemented the story a lot. He still bookends this story with the story of a modern kid going to school, needing to do a report on residential schools. I guess that's just something that he does. I guess it helps relate to people in the more modern day. Plus, it is a good way of making sure you don't make Indigenous people all seem like they're dead and gone, like is pointed out by our good friend in Native Americans in comic books. So there we go, using it already. This book is certainly not the easiest read. It may trigger some feelings of defensiveness in settlers. It also deals with issues of like pedophilia and rape, although mostly off screen as it were, and lots of physical abuse and stuff. There was a little bit more explanation for the different things that Betty Ross brought to the story. Like, she wanted to create a safe space for herself to tell the story, and she explains to our self-insert boy doing report about what all of these things mean to her and her culture. So that was kind of cool. I know I've said a couple other times that I didn't feel like Robertson necessarily explains enough, especially for young audiences. It was definitely one of my more favorites, and it was still a very short read. So I would definitely recommend this to people who want a fairly accessible but hard-hitting comic book about residential schools. Self-educate or educate others on the subject of residential schools. It's a really tough topic to talk about. And as always, I would like to acknowledge that for the most part, all of my videos are filmed and produced on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation, land covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant.